Internships, co-ops, work placements, they're supposed to be this amazing bridge to the professional world, right? But if you've ever been on one, you know that bridge can feel, well, kind of wobbly, a little confusing, and honestly just plain weird. Today, we're going to explore the hidden forces that make these experiences feel so paradoxical. You know that feeling. On one hand, you're trying to check all the boxes for your university. But on the other, you're dropped into a real workplace with its own culture, its own pace, its own unwritten rules. If you've ever felt like you're being pulled in two directions at once, trust me, it's not just you. It's a fundamental part of the whole setup, and we're going to unpack it. I mean, you can just feel the tension in this, can't you? This medical student is running on university time, where punctuality is everything. But their community partner? They're operating on a completely different clock, one that's probably more about relationships than schedules. The result? Total frustration. Or how about this one? Picture being a writing student. You're ready to go, ready to use all your skills. But you walk into an office where the goals are kind of foggy, and just getting someone to call you back is like trying to crack a secret code. Suddenly, all that structure you learned in class doesn't seem to apply anymore. And this really gets to the heart of it. Are you there to learn, or are you there to work? This intern is stuck right in that gap, trying to be a student and a professional at the exact same time. And as we're about to see, that's a recipe for some serious stress. So here's the most important thing I want you to hear. If you've ever felt that confusion, that reality shock, it's not because you did something wrong or because you weren't prepared. It's because two powerful, totally different systems are crashing into each other. And you're just standing right at the point of impact. Okay, so how do we even begin to make sense of this collision? Well, we need a map. We're going to use this really cool framework from something called activity theory to actually visualize these two different worlds and see exactly where that friction is coming from. Now, activity system sounds super academic, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just a way to describe any group of people working together to get something done. Think of it as the entire ecosystem of an activity, whether that's passing a class or launching a product. So let's put it this way. The university is one activity system, and the workplace is a completely different one. They're like two separate planets, each with its own gravity, its own atmosphere, its own rules, and they aren't always compatible. This is where things start to get strange. And this is our map. It's called Engestrom's triangle. It looks a little complex, but it just gives us 6 key things to look at in any system. Up at the top, you've got the subject. That's you, the intern. Over on the right is the object. That's the goal. Everything else, the tools, the rules, the community, that's all the stuff that shapes how you get to that goal. Now, this is where it gets really good. Look at how these two worlds stack up. In the university world, what's your main goal? To get a good grade. But in the workplace, it's all about delivering a service or making a profit. These aren't just slightly different goals, they're fundamentally different reasons for being. It's like you're trying to run two different operating systems in your brain at the same time. So we've got our map. Now let's see what happens when you actually step across that border from one system into the next, because this is where all the action is. This is where the real learning happens. This messy area where the two worlds overlap, let's call it the boundary zone. It's full of friction for sure, but it's also where all the opportunity is. Activity theory has a name for these friction points: contradictions. And here's the key. They're not mistakes. They are the actual engine of change. So let's dive into the first and maybe the most common contradiction you'll run into: a clash of rules. These are all these spoken and unspoken ways things get done in each world. And man, when they collide, it can be so frustrating. Remember our medical student from the beginning? This breaks it down perfectly. The student's rule is be on time, control the schedule. The community's rule is be flexible, build relationships. Neither one is wrong. But when they smash together without being understood, it just creates this tension where everybody feels judged. All right, next up is a big one: the clash of roles. This is all about who you are supposed to be in each place and the completely different expectations that come with it. This is the ultimate intern's dilemma, right? At university, your role is a learner. In fact, you get points for asking questions and admitting you don't know something. But at work, you're expected to be a provider, to be competent, and to contribute. Trying to be both at once is exactly what leads to that awful imposter syndrome feeling. And finally, we get to the deepest contradiction of all: the clash of objects. This is about the ultimate goal, the very reason each system exists in the first place. And honestly, it's often the hardest one to figure out. Think about it. The university's bottom line is to assess your learning. They need you to write that reflection paper. But the workplace's bottom line is to get the job done for the client. This creates this incredible tension where you're constantly asking yourself, do I focus on the real work or do I focus on the assignment that's going to get me the grade? Okay, so these contradictions, they feel bad. They create stress, confusion, a ton of self-doubt. But what if we could just flip the script on them? What if all that friction is actually the fuel for the most powerful, most important learning you will ever do? This brings us to a really cool idea called expansive learning. It's an absolute game changer. It's what happens when we stop seeing these clashes as problems to be solved and start seeing them as invitations. Invitations to question the way things have always been done and to invent something new. And it's not just a theory, it's a cycle you can actually use. It starts with that feeling of frustration. That's your cue. That's when you start asking, why is this so difficult? Then you use that map we talked about to analyze the hidden clashes. And from there, you can actually start modeling and testing a new way forward, together with your coworkers and supervisors. This quote from an intern named Teresa just says it all. When the system changes just a little bit, when she's given real responsibility and some autonomy, it transforms her entire role. The contradiction doesn't just get fixed, it becomes a source of empowerment. She literally finds her voice. So if you take one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. Those moments of friction, of frustration, of feeling totally lost, they are not signs that you are failing. They are proof that the system is ready to grow. They are the starting line for real, meaningful change. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own life right now. Your job, your classes, your projects. Where's the friction? What's the clash of rules or roles or goals that's driving you nuts? Because whatever that is, it's not a problem you need to run away from. That's your next big opportunity.